Having good stats and lots of power is very important in Ragnarok M because the more stats and power you have, you'll be able to use your combat time more efficiently. Let's talk about the gearing and gearing up process in Ragnarok M, the global version of the game coming very soon, and different things that you can do to help out with the gearing process early on in the game. So let's start off with a list of things that you can actually do to increase the power of your character. There's plenty of different ways, not just gear, but other things as well. This includes gear, of course, but stats and levels. As you level up your character, you'll get attribute points and, of course, access to new skills and abilities for your class. The Adventurer Guide is going to give you a whole bunch of different stats, especially when you reach certain level milestones like 5 and 10. Collections are very, very important as well. There's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to collections in Ragnarok M. Not going to focus on it too much in this video, but that's another way to increase your stats by a whole bunch on your character. This is going to include things like cards and headgear. Then you have pets, of course, which unlock a whole bunch of power for your character, and buffs. Today, let's focus on the gearing up process and things that you can do to increase the stats of your gear. So let's start off with, first of all, upgrading your actual gear itself. Now this is going to be incredibly important. The game is going to go through a tutorial as you actually get to the first city and tell you a little bit about the upgrading process, but there's a few important things to note. Let's actually take a look at one of my pieces of gear so that we could use it as an example. So if we scroll down here, you'll see equipment upgrade as well as a few different numbers. Some important things to note is it takes different steps to upgrade your gear. We have step number 1 right here. I've upgraded my weapon 1 time. That actually unlocked the attribute magic attack plus 54. If I were to upgrade my gear again and get to step 2, that would unlock int plus 1 and magic attack plus 2%. The next step would unlock magic attack plus 3%. And finally, the end step, what it actually lets you do is the end step will allow you to level up and transform your gear into a completely different piece of gear. This is very, very useful and very important because this is going to really allow you to put a lot of resources into upgrading your gear and slowly work on getting a whole bunch of extra power for your character. Let's talk about the next step when it comes to upgrading gear, and that is going to be enhancing your gear. Now, if you've played games before in the past, every single game has a different type of enhancement system. Well, this is actually a little bit different. Very easy for newer players to get confused as well, as the enhancing system is actually going to be different from the refining system, which we'll talk about in a second. But enhancing is actually quite simple. Let's go back to one of my pieces of gear and use it as an example. So, enhancing your gear is going to unlock, in the earlier levels, you actually unlock this menu right here that says Enhance. And let's actually just put one of my pieces of gear here as an example. So let's use my weapon, and my weapon is currently enhanced to level 20 right now. Now, enhancing is actually just going to cost a certain amount of Zenny. As you can see, enhancing my gear from 20 to 21 would cost 2,710 Zenny. If I were to go to a piece of gear that isn't enhanced, you can see these gloves are not enhanced. It costs 520 Zenny. You can also see right below the level the stats that you'll actually gain. So if I were to go back, the stats that I got from enhancing my weapon to 20 is a total of 14.0 extra magic attack. If I were to enhance it again, it would go up to 14.7 magic attack. Same thing with the gloves. You can see, because it's not enhanced, I have not gotten any defense. If I were to enhance it to level 1, that would give me 0.5 defense. My rings are enhanced up to level 10, and this is going to cost Zenny and give you a few stats for your equipment. This is going to be different from the refining system, though, which is actually going to be a lot more similar to a typical enhancement system in a game like this. Now, something really cool as well about the enhancement system in Ragnarok M is you can actually end up transferring the enhancement level as you end up changing the gear that you are using. So if I were to end up equipping a different weapon, I could actually transfer the enhancement levels from this weapon over to another weapon. And this doesn't cost anything, there's no fee, so it's definitely worth putting in the Zenny and resources to enhance your gear even early on in the game, because not only is it going to end up giving you some extra power, but you can actually end up using that later on and transferring it to a different piece of gear. Now let's talk about what you're probably going to be more used to when it comes to an enhancement system, which is actually called the refining system in Ragnarok M. And that is going to be a lot more typical. It's going to be a luck-based percentage system where you have chances to fail. It's definitely going to be quite a bit more expensive as well, but you're going to get a lot more stats. So let's go over to the equipment refinement right here. Let's go to refine, and let's put in my weapon here again. So if I put in my weapon, you'll see that it is more expensive. It's going to cost one of these Oridicon resources, which are pretty expensive, 25,000 in the exchange if you don't have any yourself. Of course, prices might be a little bit different on the global version when it comes out. I'm using the Southeast Asia version of this character just as an example. 10,000 Zenny, and as you can see, 100% success for Refine from +1 to +4, but after you get to a certain point, it is going to have a chance to fail. There's going to be a save system. This is going to be more typical to an enhancement system if you've played other similar games. As you can see, it is quite a bit more expensive, but you are going to get a lot more stats. Currently, my weapon is not enhanced at all, but if I were to refine it, it's going to be at +9. Now, me personally, I don't know, I get a little bit confused. Enhancement and refinement, a lot of the times I might end up just making a mistake and saying enhancement when I actually mean refining, because a lot of other games, the refining system in Ragnarok M is actually very similar to what a lot of other games call as the enhancement system. So if I do end up making that mistake in the future or at any time in this video or other videos, I apologize. A lot of the times when I say enhance, I'll probably actually be talking about refining. Now that would give me 9 magic attack. If you take a look at the actual enhancement system, you'll see it doesn't give as many stats, but it's a lot cheaper, it's safer, 9 magic attack compared to less than 1 magic attack by enhancing it. Now let's talk about another system, which is going to be your card inlays. I guess you could think of this as similar to a gem socketing system in other games. That's just one example. But if you take a look at gear, you're going to actually see that there's going to be these socket-looking things in the bottom right. Now, my weapon only has 1 unlocked card inlay, and what this is going to let me do is it's going to allow me to put cards into my weapon, and you're going to get different stats by inlaying cards into equipment than you would by depositing it into your adventurer's guide. So, an interesting thing about the card inlay system is when you do get cards, you can deposit them into your adventurer guide and you'll end up getting stats. Let me just open up my adventurer guide so I can show you. So if we go to the cards, you'll see that you actually get a deposit bonus, you get an unlock bonus, but you can also take out the card and you can actually inlay it into equipment, and that will give you different bonuses. So very, very important note is the bonuses that you get for inlaying your card into equipment is going to be different from the bonuses that you get from the adventurer guide and depositing it there. So make sure to check if you do get a card, what's going to be more useful for you, inlaying it or putting it into your adventurer's guide. Now, the final thing, I wanted to leave this at the end because everything that I've talked about so far, you're actually going to unlock pretty early on in the game. But this is not going to unlock until closer to the level that this character is at, which is level 40. That is going to be enchanting your gear. Now, again, there's enhancing, there's refining, and enchanting is going to be something completely different. So it can be very easy to get them confused. Definitely make sure to remember that even though they sound similar, they are all 3 completely different systems. So enchanting your gear is going to unlock at level 40, and you are going to spend Zenny and an item that you end up getting called Mora coins to give your gear enchanted stats. Now, you're actually going to be able to enchant your gear in a different city than the one that I am at. So let's actually go there now. Let's go to Geffen, and there's going to be an NPC, the cat NPC, that is going to allow you to enchant your gear. It's going to be in the upper right corner. Now, again, this is going to be something that doesn't unlock until a little bit later on in the game, and it's probably, if you're already a little bit lost with the upgrading and all the different systems for advancing your gear, I would definitely focus on the ones that I've mentioned beforehand, before later, because this one is not going to unlock until later on, and the other ones are going to be cheaper and give you more stats and more power for your character earlier on in the game. So it's going to be this cat friend NPC, and when you do unlock the enchantment system, you're going to be able to either spend Zenny to give your gear a basic enchantment, which is actually something that I ended up doing, 5,000 Zenny. You can see the attributes that you actually get from enchanting your gear, or what you can actually end up doing is you can go to the friendship shop and get other enchantment materials to give your gear more advanced enchants. Now, if you take a look at my weapon, I just enchanted it once as an example, and you can see that it actually got from that last list the magic, attack, and the defense attribute. So I've thrown a lot of information at you guys in this video. Like I said one more time, The things that I mentioned before, everything before the enchantment, those are things that you probably want to focus on first, because this doesn't actually unlock until level 40. But all of these are going to be very, very important, because once again, having more power and more stats on your character is going to mean that you're going to be able to kill things quicker and take advantage of your combat time more efficiently. Because combat time is a limited resource, you definitely want to be making sure to be killing things as quickly as you possibly can, so that you get more zenny, more experience, and more items before your combat time runs out. With that all being said, this has just been a brief introduction to gearing up and the gearing process in the global version of Ragnarok M. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, of course, consider subscribing to the channel for more videos in the future and leaving a like as well. If you have any comments or questions or feedback or anything you want to let me know, feel free to do so in the comments section. And with that all being said, thanks once again for watching. Have a fantastic day, and until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.